lap.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Sears.
Smart. It's the magic word during Kenmore Days, our exclusive Kenmore appliance event. Start with 0% financing till January 2001 on all Kenmore appliances over $399. And then on any Kenmore washer, dryer, or refrigerator over $399, get free delivery too. Kenmore Days, only at Sears. Smart, stylish, simple. In a word, Kenmore, America's best-selling appliance brand. Sears, the good life at a great price, guaranteed.
Sometimes you have trouble sleeping because you can't stop thinking about the tensions of the day. Try new Aluna Sleep. It's not a drug. Aluna promotes a natural sleep pattern in just a few nights. New Aluna. It doesn't make you sleep. It lets you sleep.
If you want help maintaining healthy joints, the makers of Tylenol proudly introduce Aflexa.
One of the main goals of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge was to rid Cambodia of all intellectuals, professionals, and people who had worked for the previous government. That, of course, included Luang Ung's father. The family had tried for months to keep their background secret.
I don't remember what time it was, but the soldiers came and with their guns, and they came and they asked my father. And they said that they needed my father to go and help them remove an ox cart that was stuck in the mud. My father said that he needed to talk to my mother, and they talked to each other in the hut, and then he left, and my mother was just crying in the hut. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand. I've seen my father going off to work all the time, every day. And then I saw my father sort of stand up straight and held his shoulders straight and squared. And he told the soldier he was ready to go. I went over to him and I tugged at his pants and I said, can I come with you? And he said no. He said he has to go. And then he surprised me, picked me off the ground, and held me really tight. And I could still remember just my feet dangling off the ground, my arms around his neck, and my face resting on the neck of his neck, and smelling his body odor. And he just held me. He just held me. He put me down and went over and held my brothers and sister and picked each and every one of us up. And then he said he was ready to go, and the soldiers left with him. And we just watched the whole time, and as his figure got smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappeared.
That was the last time Luang saw her father. Her mother soon realized that the Khmer Rouge would go after the rest of the family.
3 months later, my mother gathered all my siblings around, all of the young siblings, and said we had to leave her. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know what she meant. And she said that we had to leave. We had to separate. She said that if we stay together, we would die together. She said that we couldn't even go off together, that I was to walk north, my sister was to go south, my brother was to go east or west, in whichever directions we go. And we were to walk and walk and walk until we get to an orphanage camp. And then on that morning, she packed our little belongings, our food bowls and our spoons, and into our grandma, and we tied it around us. And I was climbing down the steps of the stairs. I reached out for my mother's hand, and she swatted my hands around, and then she turned me around by my shoulders, me screaming, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I want to stay. And she turned me around by my shoulders, pushed me out the door, and hit me on the bottom and said, get out, I don't want you. And so instead of being so angry and being so sad, I became very angry. I hated my mother for doing that. It was her act. It was her sacrifice, not her weakness. It was her incredible strength and courage and sacrifice that saved me, that allowed me to be here today.
At the orphanage camp, Luang was soon singled out for her feistiness and strength, and she was transferred to a camp for child soldiers training to fight the Vietnamese, who were engaged in continuous skirmishes with the Cambodians.
Instead of working in the field every day, which we still did, we would have half a day of being trained physically with arms and guns and knives and how to protect ourselves. And they're going to be half my body's height and a third of my body's weight, and I'm taught to shoot it. A sickle, a hoe, a knife, an axe, a hammer, sticks. And we were taught to look at everything else around us and to see them as weapons, so that when the Vietnamese soldiers or other enemies come in and try to hurt us, we would be able to defend ourselves.
It never came to that, not at least for Luong Ung. The Vietnamese army had completely overrun Cambodia by 1979, and during the chaos of the invasion, a 9-year-old girl on the run did not attract a great deal of attention. How she made it across heavily mined territory, across the border, into Thailand, to a refugee camp, is a story for another day. Luong had lost her father, her mother, her older sister, and her baby sister. They were all dead. She, miraculously, was alive, and within a year, she would come to America.
Blame America.
Get revved up for the Hoover Race to Save event at Kmart, where you'll find souped-up savings on every Hoover cleaner in the store, like the self-propelled Wind Tunnel Ultra with powerful wind tunnel technology that picks up more dirt than any other clean air upright, now only $299.99. Or the Steam Vac Plus, now only $199.99 with free solution. So make a pit stop at the Hoover Race to Save event, only at Kmart.
In the beginning, I felt a lot of guilt about being alive. I felt a lot of guilt about leaving Cambodia. I felt a lot of guilt about being here. And yet, I survived. There were so many times where I should have been dead. And so I grew up with this sense that I was saved for a reason. I should do something about it.
Luong has written a memoir of her life that has deeply affected young Cambodian Americans.
It takes you there. I feel like I'm watching you in a movie.
Yeah, it was really vivid and powerful.
Having this book has a voice for us Cambodians.
The war I didn't study was the Khmer Rouge War. And it's the same thing with my nieces and all these other Cambodians. They study all this history, and the history they know the least is Cambodian history. Can you talk about it? Have you talked about it?
With her book and her outreach, she is helping them sort through their history.
Because I want to be connected more to Cambodia and understand the hardships that everybody went through.
I'm trying to put these pieces together that he gives me, but I hope that one day they'll all come together.
Luong sees it as a generational as well as an emotional issue for older people.
It's still very painful. It's painful for me to talk about it. I can't talk about it without tears, and I talk about it a lot. It's very painful. It's very hard. And I think there's a lot of reasons. There's the language barrier. The Cambodian generation, the new generation, are more fluent in English. They've also never been to Cambodia. A lot of them haven't been to Cambodia. So they don't know the questions to ask. Why do you want to know your history?
If I don't know my history, I don't know myself.
My parents always been open to it, but they don't really initiate the conversation. We have to ask them questions. We have to start the conversation.
And, I thank you for it.
And a lot of Cambodian students have come up to me and said, thank you. Thank you for doing this, because your book, in a way, has given me permission to ask questions.
When the Khmer's took over, I was about 3 months old.
The vigil they organized was a chance to share experiences.
They gave up everything for my freedom.
I lost both sets of my grandparents.
I had seen a lot of people were killed.
As well as 8 of my aunts and uncles.
She had to step on dead bodies.
All I wanted to do was just cry.
So that they wouldn't have to step on the landmines.
It was a forum, for people to get out there and tell their story. And I kind of allowed them to let it out, and gave them an outlet.
I lost the precious person of my life in that killing field. That's my wife.
And in this exploration of their history, these young Americans have a new appreciation of their parents.
To know that they went through this, it makes me think of them differently. look at them in a different light, to appreciate